We came that close to the market collapsing last week. And I'm going to explain to you a term that will devastate a seller and can be a buyer's best friend on today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Well, hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 210. And you saw that teaser that it came in, saw the little slides come up, heard the music, and that was about 15 minutes ago because, I think I'm going to have technical problems on this one. I can just sort of feel it. So let's continue on, see what's going on. So this is the day before Valentine's Day, and it's really sad that I have to tell my clients, no, I'm not available Friday night to show you a house because I'm married, and I'd like to stay that way. All right, but, I'm free Friday night, can you maybe see a couple hours before sundown? I was like, dude, there's a reason why you're divorced, so no. Anyways, long story short, market's here, swinging, having a really good time. We got so much activity, and so many houses by them. It's like a lot of motion, but not a lot of direction, right? I have noticed some really interesting things, and this is what's going to kick off this episode, what I want to talk about. We're going to cover a few things. Some news I just saw this morning when I was drinking my coffee and reading editorials that impacts this. I didn't realize this happened, and it's a biased source, but I'll cover it anyways. And then we're going to discuss days on market. Why are we discussing days on market? Because nobody seems to know what that is out there in civilian world, and it's going to screw a lot of people up. And I just want to get it out there, publicly. This is what it is. Okay. If you can't hear the words coming out of my mouth, watch it on a video. I will get the pony. Don't make me get the pony. All right. And explain it all to you. But let's go on. It's funny. My dad, I was talking to him on the way in this morning, and he said, I got some feedback on your video. I was like, what it is? He's like, quit touching your nose. Okay, hopefully that gets it out all the way. Because I'm trying to explain to him, it's like, as soon as that little white light comes on, I get throat phlegm, my nose starts itching, my ears start itching, people come into my office. It's the light. It's that light. It curses me. So let's talk about the news I saw this morning, right? We apparently almost lost the real estate market last week. Did not realize this, right? It was has to do with Washington, has to do with various people wandering into various federal projects, with sword and fire and, slaying the heretics, all right? The emperor protects. And, they broke something and they had to put it back together real quick, all right? So there is a organization out there called the CFPB. All right, that is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and banks and lenders hate these people. All right, because these people are, in Ray's not so humble opinion, a bunch of crazy activists who hate capitalism. All right, and that's okay. It's good to have checks and balances of the world. Well, back in the day after the crash, all right, we all remember the crash, right? There was the Dobbs Act got kicked in, and we rewrote a lot of see what I mean? A lot of the lending rules and regulations. One of the regulations is the new lending is that you can only loan money to people who can pay you back. That's considered common sense in the most of the world. But because before the crash, people were able to mitigate their own personal risk by, I give you money, you give me a note that says you will pay the bearer of this note back, and I can then sell that note and then move on to loan money to the next guy with the money that I just got from selling the note to a third party. And the fact that I'm going to lie to the buyer about how great of a borrower you are screwed everything up. All right. Noticed the guys who lent money to people who couldn't afford it and lied to those guys, they didn't go to jail. They just wrote very, very large checks to various government institutions as a mea culpa. And the government loves getting checks. They don't love putting people in jail, especially their buddies that they see in their Georgetown dinner parties and stuff like that. I can't put him in jail. I went to Harvard with him. All right, but what they'll do is they'll do a nice little fine penalty, and that's what the CFPB does, is it sits there and penalizes entities like banks when banks do bad things, like open up other loan accounts to make their quarterly numbers in their client's name without their client's permission, and then they get caught, and the CFPB goes, "You bad," and you're going, "Yeah, that's absolutely right. How about if we cut you a check?" And then they cut the check not to United States Department of Treasury, all right, not to the people who were victimized. It actually goes to the CFPB, which was a really sort of clever way to make sure that the CFPB ultimately did not cost the consumers any money, because it was self-funding. We will fund this organization on the checks that we get from the dirtbags we catch. Sound good so far? Well, like all great government programs, it got hijacked, and it's just turned into this, monstrosity. It's either a champion of the consumer or, demon from hell, depending on which side of the checkbook you're on. But so with the new administration coming in, they sent one of their hatchmen over to, hey, make that go away. And they made it go away. Well, here's the problem. Burrowed into the middle of the CFPB. All right. One of the things that they do is, back to that legislation. The legislation is, I can't loan you money unless you can pay me back. If I loan you money that you can't pay me back, I have to prove that I did my due diligence to make sure you weren't lying to me. All right. Borrowers always ask, why do I have to come up with all this documentation now? Just in case you're lying. They're literally trying to make sure that the guy asking for money is not lying to the bank. Because if the bank is lied to, it's the bank's fault for not catching them. All right. So that's part of what happens to get a qualified mortgage that I can then turn and sell to somebody else, is going, this is grade A certified prime loan from a grade A certified prime borrower who will always pay you back. And part of that mechanism is this great little thing called the Apport table. All right, and I'm going to have to read this one off. It is the average prime offer rate. It is a number that is generated by the CFPB. And said, here's your number for the week. If you loan at this rate or within a band of this rate, we're not going to come after you. But if you're outside that band, well, we might be knocking on your door going, wow, this is a really nice bank you have here. Why don't you kick upstairs? So it's one of those little, protections to the bank so they can feel comfortable loaning money out, because not only have they fully qualified the buyer, but the rate is inside the CFPB's band that they come out with once a week. Well, if you wander into that office and you tell everybody to go home and you turn the lights out, all those banks go to the website to look for their brand new rate that they are protected under for that week, and the rate's not updated. Now, good government fashion, there is a little clause in there that says that, if you do your due diligence, and if the government is slow in getting you that number, all right, but what was going to happen is people were going to get less and less comfortable loaning money at all, because they couldn't make sure that it fell within that little defined box, and the definer of the box is at Starbucks right now updating their LinkedIn account. All right, so they had to back that out real quick. So I hope that explanation makes sense to you. Right, for those who didn't make sense, just remember, it's a government, Jake. What you going to do about it? So that's what happened with that little thing. So that was my morning. That's the kind of stuff that fascinates me, right? You guys, maybe not so much. But if you're interested in reading the article itself, it can be found on the American Prospect. All right, and it's Vought restores CFPB procedure that sustains mortgage markets. With this pithy little tagline, the situation reveals that sometimes even arsonists need the building they're burning down to stay upright. By David Dayan. All right, look that one up. It's a fun one. No, I'm not putting in the show notes below. You're going to have to do your own homework on this one. But while you were looking through the show notes, just click the like, share, and subscribe, all right? I could really use the love. All right, let's get this out of the way, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. Numbers for February 12th, 2025. Actives this week are 22,561. Reversing the down, we actually went up 423. Go figure. Maybe they were waiting to get the waste management open out of the way. All right. New listings are 2,569, up 74. Our contracts last week were 2,409, down 10. Our closings were 1,189. Remember those two numbers. We're going to be talking about that here in a second. And coming soon to an MLS near you is 834. Our supply out there is at 89.7, still rising up. Our demand actually went down a little bit to 77.5, giving us a Crawford report number of down to 86.4, moving more and more into a buyer's market. Looking at our general areas like this, all right, what we got across the board, we have 4 gainers: Gilbert, Mesa, Goodyear, and Queen Creek, all gaining. All right, everybody else is falling. All right, our worst faller this week is Fountain Hills, down 20. Do not know what happened to them. Maricopa, you're at 15 under what you were last month. You're at 46.3. Remember last week we talked about people in Maricopa maybe starting to be upside down if you bought in the last 2 years. All right, you can also take a look at Buckeye and start wondering the same thing. All right, also we got going out there on the buyer side of the house. If you want to go find a deal, although I would be leery about Maricopa right now, and I used to love Maricopa. Maricopa, Buckeye, Surprise, Queen Creek, and Goodyear. Okay, that's where the deals are. And don't be too afraid of Maricopa. If you're looking for your last house that you're ever going to buy, you know, the one that you're going to go out feet first, Maricopa, you can get some great deals down there, and you don't care what the house is worth when you die. That's your heirs' problem. All right. Meanwhile, our balanced markets right now are Peoria, Avondale, Cave Creek, and Glendale. They're all in the balanced market. Meanwhile, got Mesa, Phoenix, Fountain Hills, Paradise Valley, don't care. Gilbert, Scottsdale, Tempe, and Chandler is still leading the pack. All right. So good mix of what we got going on there. Definitely, we're still trending down on the downside. And I don't think we're going to get those interest rates that everybody's hoping for, just to let you know on that. And the reason is inflation. Last month's inflation numbers coming. These are the inflation for the month of January, ticked up a little bit. They also took a look at all of last year's 2024's employment rate. And guess what? Did not make as many jobs as we thought in 2024. And the jobs that we did too were either government jobs or went to immigrants. Not necessarily illegal immigrants, but immigrants coming in. So, you know, they're still trying. It is amazing how this can go an entire year and then fix the numbers after the election. Like, oh yeah, everything you're using to decide who you're going to vote for. Yeah, those numbers were wrong, and they always seem to go in one direction. But this is not a political channel, although it can make it one really easy. All right, so what do we got going on with that? I'm not expecting the interest rates to drop. This might be the new normal. Plan your life around this. All right. They've been promising me 5s for the last 2 years. All right. We are getting, hopefully, spending under control, which is a direct driver on that. Okay. But we also need to look at those 10-year notes, because that's what really affects your interest rates. Me and Jeff had this conversation for like 30 minutes and trying to figure out exactly how the Fed's buying bonds from itself and calling it money. And yeah, there's a limit to my craziness, and that is like reading the Necronomicon. Just do not do it. It'll drive you insane. So let's talk about stuff I do know. Average days on market. All right, this is huge, guys. All right, and I tell people this, and I tell people this, and I tell people this, and they only hear what they want to hear. So now I'm showing it to you with pictures. The pony's next. All right, so while you're looking at a house and when you're looking online, you might see something on your chart and on your MLS plano that's going to look something a lot like this, okay? Boom. Come on. Minimize down, out of the way. There we go. What we have right here, and you'll find this on the lower left-hand side about midway down, the listing dates and pricing and sale info. All right, this is a house that was originally listed for $141,000. You can see that over here on the right-hand side. It is currently listed for $410,000. The numbers we're going to be discussing are over on the left-hand side under listing dates. You will see these two acronyms, these terms, CDOM and ADOM. All right, this is combined days on market and average days on market. All right, so My folder that I saved all these documents under is called DOM class. Okay, you guys get your head out of the gutter. It has nothing to do with that. I'm much more of a switch. All right, but list date is the date this house was actually listed. This is a form that I pulled up this morning. This house is still out there, boys and girls. But it is currently showing that it is 183 days on the market, and that it went on the market in May 14th of 2024. All right. They changed the status date of 1/23/2025. So something happened in the last week of January that we're going to be looking at here. But you can sit there, and those numbers do not add up at first glance. All right. Wait a minute. Ray, explain this to me. All right. If you're telling me this is active numbers today, all right, and it is February the 13th, not too late to buy a Valentine's Day gift, guys. You can still do it. All right. Is actively today, all right, is February the 13th. Okay, but this thing went on the market May the 14th of last year. And May is the 5th month of the year. So there were 7 months. And I know from paying attention in elementary school that a year has 365 days, which comes to about 182, 183 days in a half year. Look, 183 days in a half year. Where's my other 2 months? Where did that all go? Why am I thinking of 9 months here, but I only show half a year on there? Years are not 18 months long. Well, let me explain that to you, boys and girls. All right? Because we're going to discuss, I'm just going to jump to this. Days on market is the number of the days the property was in active, under contract looking for backups, or contract with a buyer's contingency. All right, CCBS. All right. Pending, coming soon, and temporarily off markets do not count when we add up days on market. Okay? And we will break that down a little bit more in the center. But let's say we're on the buyer side, okay, and we're looking at that property. Or let's say we're on the seller side, and I'm a seller, and I want to get this house sold. It's like, I need to have this house sold in the next 3 months. That's 90 days. All right? And you come up to real estate agent, and the real estate agent goes, okay, let's look what's going on in your neighborhood. This is a lot like the Cromford Report heat index, but this is what agents who can't afford the Cromford Report do. You're going to look at the neighborhood, you're going to look at everything that's sold, and you're going to hit the little CMA button on your MLS, and you're going to get the statistical market analysis. And what this will tell you, in the neighborhood that I blocked off on this, and this is everywhere, what did I do on this? Thunderbird to Cactus, 74th to, or 75th to, I want to say 81st. I think that's what I drew on this thing. These grid coordinates from here to here. Okay, I just drew a rectangle around a block. All right, status of closed. These are only the single family detached ones. Okay, and I go back as far as 184 days. Don't ask me why 184. I just set that in there years ago, and I never bothered to get rid of it. So I can tell you there's been 34 houses closed in there, right, for a sold volume of over 15 million, right? The lowest priced house in that place was $355,000. Okay, the highest sold house in that neighborhood was $685,000. This is where people get screwed up because they think these numbers apply to the same house all the way across, and they don't. This is red, this is across the top, your low, average, high. Okay, so your approximate square foot, low, average, high. This does not necessarily mean that this house sold for that price. That was just the biggest house sold. We'd have to go look at the listings to see what that is. Price per square foot, sold price per square foot. And this one right here, average days on market, we can see that there's a house on here that went 229 days on the market before it eventually got a contract that they closed on. All right? The average agent days on market is 54 days on market. All right? The shortest time was 4 days that resulted in a closing, because that's the important part I need you to understand on this. All right? It is the number of days property was in active UCB or CCBS. That is not the average days until the seller got us a check. All right? ADOM is days on market under the listing agent. So you put a house on the market, right? We put it on today. This time next week, it'll be 7 days on the market. Hey, guess what? We get a contract. Negotiate a little bit. during day 8. Day 9, we get a ratified contract, and I go to the MLS and I go pending. That freezes the counter at 9 days. It freezes the counter at 9 days. Right? If we close 30 days later, it's going to say 9 days on market. Right? And I can use that to promote, hey, I sell houses in 9 days. Look at my average. My average days on market is this. Right? And a lot of agents do that. I do it a bit different, because what I do to make sure in the best interest of my client is I will put it under contract looking for backups. Always looking for backups. That keeps counting the days on market. That keeps the counter going. So if we close 30 days after we get the contract on, it's ratified on day 9, my average days on market for that house is going to be 39. So, but that's because I put it in UCB. A lot of people put it straight to pending. All right. So that's one of the disconnects we have using this chart right here. We don't know how many of those agent days on market were under contract looking for backups. All right. You put my house on under contract looking for backups until the inspection's over. We've gotten the appraisal. And as soon as those two are done, then I will put it to pending, because I'm pretty sure that person's going to close. But if we're not through inspection yet, we're not through that. So you can almost say that this agent's days on market might actually be less than. But remember, that's not getting a check in 54 days. It's not getting a check in 54 days. So the other number that we got to look at on this ADOM, all right, these are the days on market under the listing agent, is CDOM, cumulative days on market. These are the days on market under any agent. All right. If you have a listing and you go 180 days on that place and all sorts of things happen, but your listing expires and here comes in some other guy. Oh yeah, well, I see where Ray went wrong. Sign with me. I can sell this a lot faster than you can. He can. And then you go with him. Right? If you don't wait 90 days off the market, I want to say it's 90 asterisks on that. I cannot confirm that. All right, but I think it's 90 days. You are suddenly going to get the other days. The previous ones come on CDOM. So if you're in that listing, all right, and you're up here looking at this number, and you see those two are being different, that's what happens here. And I'll show you that right here on this example. Okay, this is a great example for me to show you. All right. Now, this is a screenshot. It actually goes back way, way further than this, all right? But they went on the market for 35 days. Who takes a listing for 35 days? I have no idea. Maybe they just, actually, I got a pretty good idea that what happened on this is that here's this person, here's this agent, has a property out there for $420. All right, they go 35 days on market trying to sell this thing for $420. And then the seller finds some online deal. Hey, we will sell your house for $9.99 or something like that. Under auction, it will sell quickly. And they cancel their listing. Notice that doesn't say expired right there. It says canceled. That's where either the agent fires the seller or the seller fires the agent. All right. So somebody got fired. All right, after 35 days. I ain't putting up with you. Get out. All right. The next day, the same day, all right, that the whole thing is canceled. All right. Next, it's suddenly relisted for $279. All right, and then it goes all that time till the last time they did anything on this. All right, and it was a document update and a status update, okay, on $279. So that's 28 days on the second listing, 35 on the first listing, for a total of 63. That might actually be with, just hear me out on this. That might actually be the same agent. Just hear me out on this. That might be the same agent if they're doing something along the lines of, we'll do traditional marketing for 35 days, and if it doesn't go under the traditional marketing, then we will go to our auction status. That $279 is not the actual price. That $279 is the opening bid price with this particular house. All right. Let me show you another one. This is fun. Now, as a seller, you do not want to see your days on market going, because buyers are going to look at this particular chart right here. Agents, if you don't know what this is the history tab on the MLS. Just click on it. You learn so much. All right. Click a minus sign. That's all disappointed. Every time you hit a plus sign, you will see everything that gets changes. Text, status, document. Really good to go back when they suddenly start saying, oh, I never promised you 3% on the MLS. I was only promising you 2. And you can go back there and say, hey, dude, we went under contract on June 15th. And you changed it to 2 on June 17th. We're holding you to the original number. All right. So, but this one right here, and it took me a while to find one that's this good. All right. You might not recognize this property, but remember back here, this is the same house. This is the same house and the saga of the house that we saw earlier, right? This one right here. Okay, remember, they went on May 14th. How do we get these weird numbers? Well, I'm going to show you. Here it is, May 14th, hits the market, 441. They do a price change. They do a price change. They do a price change. They change some text. Maybe they were offering commission. Who knows, right? Another price change. So now they're coming down into the sanity mark, all right? Because they get their first offer July 29th, 2024. Bam! They're under contract. Yay, team. Everybody's happy. And then, oh no, they're back on market, right? And they're back on market about 13 days later. That, boys and girls, is a blown homeowner's inspection. Something came up on the inspection, and the buyer decided they didn't want to buy the house in the condition, and maybe they just walked away, or they went to the seller and said, seller, we got concerns, we need something fixed, and the seller said, no, we're not making any fixes. So they weren't able to come out, and they're back on. Whenever you see a house that's 8, 9, 10, up to 13 days, right around in there, and all of a sudden it's out, that's bad home inspection, right? You'll also see stuff along the lines where it's like 2 or 3 days into it, and all of a sudden it's back on the market. That's a buyer who didn't have an earnest money. Read wholesalers, all right? But that's how those things drop out. All right, so back on the market, August 12th. Notice the seller just lost those days. They lost from the 29th, okay, to the 12th, all right? Those days are not counted against the days on market because they probably went pending on that one. So they're back on the market at 8:12. Okay, 8:15. Do some more documents, and we got some text, and we got some text. That documents might have been a SPUDS update for something they discovered on the home inspection. Do some text. They do another price change. Now the $1,000 price change is just enough to get the price change, and bam! 13 days later, they got another offer. All right, and they're under contract again. All right. Couple of other interesting happens during this status change. Okay, on that date, co-listing members change. I'm not sure why text was changed. Ultimately, what happened? That one falls out too. Okay, so what do we got going on in this particular property? Something is wrong on that property. If we go into that house, we're going to go in that house really with our goggles on. We're really looking at figuring out what's going on, particularly wrong with that property. All right. So yeah, we're not waiving the inspections on that. Something's up in the inspections. That's why we're not waiving it, right? So let's just recap real quick. Your days on market is an average, right? It's the days when it is actively looking for a buyer. And one thing I need to point out to you, houses go stale, right? At a certain point, there's only so many buyers looking in your neighborhood, right? There's only so many buyers who qualify for that property. At a certain price point or a certain time on the market, everybody's seen it. Everybody knows what you're bringing to the table, girl. It's already been seen. Everybody passed on you, which is why you got to sweeten the offer and drop the price a little bit, or market a little bit better, make the house a lot more presentable so the new buyers who are filtering in, because new people are always moving to town, see a different house than the first time buyers did. Other things along these lines is interest rates will change, which means more buyers can suddenly qualify at your price point, right? And so, but you need to get that as soon as you see that house. Remember, 183 days on the market, out there since May 14th. All right, that's a problem. Okay, but remember, don't think 183 days. Think it's been out there since last May. It's been out there 9 months. 9 months, not 180 days. So, what does this mean to all of you? Well, if you're on the buyer side, you can look at a property, and if you're really interested in a property, then your agent will start looking at that history and start deciphering everything that's going on with it. Okay. See, how many times did they particularly put this on? One of the things I did not show you on this is that you will see every time the house ever got listed. Right? Whether it closed, canceled, expired, the original listing, that listing is going to be on there. Sometimes the original photo is on there, so you can actually see things that have happened to the property over time. But as a buyer, you can sit there, and the other thing is, it's like you can smell the blood in the water on some of these houses. Like, seriously, there's blood in the water in some of these houses. These guys are 183 days. These guys are since May. All right. I would have no problem whatsoever coming in with a lower offer on these guys. No problem whatsoever. Now, brand new house, day one, well priced already. You're not lowballing those guys, all right? But yeah, that is a wounded fish floating around out there, ready for somebody to come pick it up. And don't think you can go that low, because they've already got 50,000 offers from every wholesaler and, you know, seller carryback gurus out there. So, other thing, all right. So, but that's the buyer side. On the seller side, you want to keep your days on market as low as possible, which means you need to start strong. All right, slow walking a property, not having your best day be your first weekend. All right, where you look the best, you're at the good price point, the house is ready to show and open and convenient to get into on your first weekend, starts the doom spiral. You need to be in that position. I've made this mistake before. All right, which means you need to go for the inconvenient thing. Now, you can do coming soon. All right, coming soon is a completely different thing. It does not count as days on market. It throws it out there. You're not supposed to be showing the house, but it lets the potential buyers know, hey, this house is going to be showing up sooner or later. And in a really, really hot market, you will get nothing but phone calls on coming soon. Can we just see it early? No, it's not ready for a show. Well, can we just peek in? You know, will you accept an offer, set and seen if we can get our 10 day? That was the way the market used to be. Nowadays, it's got to be day one. It's got to be day one, and it's got to be available. And if that means your dog has to go live with your grandmother, okay, because you can't run home to put the dog up, and the dog's going to bite somebody, the dog needs to be the hell out of the property. All right? Those kids need to be beaten to submission until they realize their room stays immaculate 24/7. I saw some real hellholes yesterday. All right? I mean, you don't want to see a house that's got fresh dog piss on the kitchen floor. Yeah, stepped in it. Yay team. Don't care. All right, this is real estate, baby. All right, but these are the things you got to look out for with that. All right, that house has got to be ready to go. You want maximum exposure. You want it in the best condition possible. All right, I would love to see. I almost wanted to go into photos on that property, but at a certain point, since I'm not using this to sell the property, I'm just using the talk real estate. You notice I had little black lines knocking out the addresses, because you don't need to know this particular property. You don't need to know who this particular agent is, right? I'm just showing you an example of what goes wrong when with these properties. All right, we're not getting an interest rate change, right? I really don't think we're going to get an interest rate market move within the next 6 to 9 months that are going to seriously impact the market. It depresses me to say that. All right, we got way too many things going on, and when everybody gets nervous, we all start freezing up. All right, that's why I've got articles about the CFPB. I mean, yeah, lenders just freaked out there for a second. There's a lot of moving parts out there. If you have a deadline for getting rid of a house or getting money out of the house, the time to start was basically last month. All right. But call me, we'll work something out. What else along these lines? I'm 33 minutes and 39 seconds into talking to you guys. Cover the market, cover the numbers, I hope you guys understand what days on market means. Yeah, we got to do this again. I will grab the pony. All right? And we'll have to go that route. Other than that, start watching my Facebook page. We're going to be doing a lot more videos and whatnot on there. The little short reels. I'm getting really happy with that. Other than that, what else? Remember those dogs that piss on the floor? You still have to watch them around the pool. Right? Same with the kids who aren't cleaning up their rooms. Right? All right, we're still working our circles. We're still not driving into anything flooded, and I'd love to see some rain this week, all right? We're still calling our parents, like I called my dad today, because he said something to somebody on my Facebook page that was just perfect. Okay, you guys ever wonder where I got it from? A lot of it is from the, that's the guy that raised me. Okay, so you think I'm a little hard on you? Whoa. Anyways, you guys have a great weekend. Dad, I hope you like this. You guys have a great weekend.